So we are continuing with our program, and the program is about the 2019 annual general meeting of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, of which most of us are members. Any media men around, media women around. I have the singular honor and privilege, not even Dora is doing this one. I am inviting our executive director, Mr. Ebenezer Beto, to give us a welcome address for the 2019 AGM. Shall we, with a round of applause, please welcome him to the podium.
Good morning to you all. It's always a pleasure hearing you at the AGM with your aunties. I'm sure we do enjoy it. Thank you so much. This venue obviously is new to all of us, and I guess as a result of that, some of you had to struggle just a little bit. But all the same, any new thing that you start, you go through some struggles. But having said that, it is nice to see all of you here this morning. Guest speaker, President, Vice President, executive members of the National Governing Council, ex-council members, chairpersons and resource persons, members of the Institute, representatives of professional bodies, if indeed we have any of them here, the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great joy that once again I stand before you this morning to welcome you to the 2019 Annual General Meeting, which, as our MC said, for the first time was heralded with a health walk and a workshop on corporate governance. Today is packed. We have a lot on the menu, but we will try as much as possible to go through them as quickly as possible. Firstly, we will have the opportunity to listen to a seasoned professional who will share his thoughts with us on today's theme. Secondly, we will take stock of all that happened in the past year, which will be presented by the President in his annual report and followed up during the business session. Thirdly, we will also, as part of the business session, we will seek the endorsement in extending the mandate of our existing elected officers whose tenure ends today. This stems from the expectant passing of the HR bill to become an act of parliament in the next, hopefully, few months. Resolution was sent out to members. With this resolution, we propose and encourage members to support the motion as stated in the resolution that was sent out. As a result of that, today's election is deferred to next year. We took the cue from Chartered Institute of Bankers, so we are following what has already happened, and we believe that all will come to a successful end. Then on the fourth item on the menu, we will confer fellows on some of our members and certain industry players who have distinguished themselves in the HR space over the years in Ghana. Then the fifth item is to outdoor our maiden HR News magazine. And lastly, as we always do, we will lunch together as a family. I would say a progressive year it has been for us. And for this, we give so much thanks to the Almighty for how far He has brought us. Indeed, as we always say, there is season for everything under the sun. For so many years, we have been a tenant. But today, our levels don't change. We are a landlord. We are a landlord. We have always started renting our facilities out. last 2 weeks, chatted with the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supplies, rented our facilities for 3 days. For 3 days. When you pay so much for renting, year in and year out, a relief it is when a day comes when the tables turn in your favor. There is great joy and calmness in my heart. I wish you have eyes to see my heart. Because always when the end of the year comes, I'm thinking of the next rent. How are we going to get it paid? Please join me and let's show appreciation to God with a loud applause. Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that. I guess it is in order that we also give ourselves some applause because we have also done well. Let's do that. God willing, we will officially open the facility when we complete some few outstanding issues to do with. And the major one is the landscape of the place. Again, I will say significantly, we have done a lot on the HR bill. But with that, with the details, I'll leave it for the President to tell us during his annual address. At this point, I want to extend a warm welcome to today's guest speaker, Mr. Roxin Kwesi Dogbaga. You're welcome, my brother. You're welcome. He is the president of the Institute of Directors. He was chosen because he sits at a place that looks after what we call corporate governance. So indeed, he's the right man for us today to do justice to the topic. Once again, at this point, I also want to acknowledge the presence of certain personalities in our midst. I'll start with Mr. John Wilson, the ex-president. Mr. John Wilson, please, let's give. Yes. Immediate past president. Then I'll move on to present council members. We have in our midst Dr. Edward Kwapong, the president of the institute. Then we have Leo Kwakupong, the vice president. Then we have other council executives, Nanaya Achum. We have Isaac Saki. Then we have Dr. Kwame Apigi. Yes. Then we have Seth Jojome, your own Seth. Then we have chapter representatives from Accra. We have Emmanuel Kosa. Then we have Eric Duka from Tema. Do we have Kumasi? No, Georgina is not here yet. And then we don't have anybody from Takrady. Koforidua. I thought I said hello to somebody. Yes, yeah. Koforidua. Nice. That's our latest chapter. Now I'll move on to, I guess, if Professional Certification Board. Do we have Mr. John Elieke here? No. But we still have some of the members of the board. We have Robert Quay. Thank you. We have Paul Nate, member of the Professional Certification Board. And we have Dora Sionlate, member of the Certification Board. Do we have Florence Ajade here? No. Okay. Then, once again, Mr. Paul Nate, chairman of the building committee. He was side by side with me during the construction of the HR complex annex. Great pillar. You have been great pillar. Thank you so much. I salute you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have some ex-executives as well in our midst. Mr. Austin Gami. Mr. Austin Gami. Yes, you're welcome. You're welcome. We also have Mr. Atapeidu, ex-council member and also member of the Fellows and Membership Committee. Thank you, Mr. Atapeidu. We have Dr. Kwashi, ex-member of the Executive Council. Ex-member, thank you. We have also in our midst Mrs. Florence Hatchford. Mrs. Florence Hatchford, where are you? You can't hide. You can't hide. We also have in our midst Mr. George Antoboatin, ex-council member. Ex-council member, and I have a special title for him. He wears the cap, Champion Recruiter of the Security Forces. Champion Recruiter of the Security Forces. He's brought in the military, he's brought in the police, the customs. The IGP is a member. The IGP is a member. He took it upon himself to go around all these security people to collect their subscription, believe it or not. He did it for us. Once again, let's appreciate Mr. George Antoboatin. We love you dearly. Thank you so much. Thank you. So, Champion Recruiter of the Security Services. This will be boldly written, in the history of the Institute. We also have in our midst Honorable Andy Okra, ex-Vice President. Ex-Vice President, thank you for coming. Do we have Kofi Baiche? No. Kofi Baiche? He's not here. Okay. We also have in our midst Miss Shika Tete. Miss Shika Tete. She is also a member of the Legal and Ethics Committee. And I know the chairman is hiding somewhere. Where is Mr. John Warman? Mr. John Warman. You are always hiding. You are always hiding. He's the chairman of the Legal and Ethics Committee and is also the lead for the team that is looking at the LI for our HR bill. Thank you, Mr. Warman. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. Any resource persons around? Any resource person? We have Jennifer Yebanye. You can't hide, can you? She's also a resource person. A resource person. So far, if I've missed anybody, we would certainly catch up a bit later. For the events and planning and awards committee, I think we need to appreciate them. They happen to be the team that put together the health walk and then the workshop. So let's appreciate the events planning and awards committee led by our own Vice President, Leo. Led by our own Vice President, Leo. Unfortunately, I have to end on a sad note. During the period, we lost an old member of the Institute in the person of Mr. Kwabena Owusu. He was the former head of HR for La Palm Beach Hotel. He was buried on the 5th of October. And may his soul rest in perfect peace. Seth obviously will engage us to observe a minute silence as we go along. Once again, thank you so much for coming, and I welcome you all to today's AGM. Enjoy the rest of the program, and thank you all for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Executive Director.
We want to thank Mr. Ebenezer Agbeto, our Executive Director, for the welcome address. Shall we give him a round of applause? He was able to identify those who were hiding, so thank you very much. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Again, I have the singular honor of inviting to the podium the president of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana, Dr. Edward Kwapong. The way I've introduced you, Mr. President, we'll see him in chambers. Okay. Shall we give him a round of applause as he comes so that my chamber movement will be interesting?
This is a parallel I'm drawing. Today I have to talk about a lot of things. A building structure, our finances, our bill yet to be passed into law, our growing popularity and visibility, and the institute becoming a professional institute of choice. So enough of that event yesterday. Let me return to formality and to my protocol lists. Our distinguished speaker, a guest speaker, my very able vice president, members of the National Governing Council, past members of the Governing Council, chairman and members of the Professional Certification Board, my indefatigable executive director, and the staff of the Institute, members, resource persons, and patrons of the Institute, representatives of professional bodies here present. I don't know whether there's a chief here, but Nime, Naime. Distinguished invited guests, friends of the media, ladies and gentlemen. It is with great pleasure that I present you my second report as the president of the Institute, highlighting our activities for the year ended 31st December 2018 through to 8th November 2019. I'm quick to point out that for the period under review, we used the balanced scorecard model to structure our activities, focusing on 4 key perspectives, namely the financial, customer care, internal processes, and capacity building. With respect to these thematic areas, we chalked significant successes for which I'm proud to present to you and to detail below. So I'll start with the financial. And under the financial perspective, we sought to enhance income generation while minimizing costs. So revenue mobilization and cost reduction. For revenue mobilization, our focus was to intensify collection of annual subscriptions as well as a massive drive for membership. With our membership drive, we increased our associate membership from 578 to 748, an increase of 170. While our full membership increased from 1,310 to 1,700, showing an increase of 29.4% and 29.7% respectively. The number of certified practitioners also increased from 75 to 115, an increase of 40 and 55%. The affiliate membership category also stands at 80 members and corporate 15. In this regard, collection of membership annual subscription experienced an improvement as paid-up members exceeded the target of 600. For the period commencing January 2019 to date, we achieved a collection rate of 103%, comprising 594 full members and 25 affiliate members. Thus, we exceeded our target by 3%. Development of the HR Development Complex Fund. You'll recall that we set up a fund to mobilize funds or resources in support of our building project. As we speak, we have an amount of 55,446.99 cedis to our credit as at September 2019. It means that what we mobilized, we did not touch. And so that amount is earmarked for the financing of the horticultural works at the center. Anybody who has been there will see that the grounds have not been done. And so we are going to earmark this for that, to beautify the place. Provision of consultancy services as part of the revenue mobilization. The Institute provided consultancy services to the National Petroleum Commission, UST, during the period under review. In this regard, we wish to encourage you, our members, to recommend us to your organizations for the provision of consultancy services. Again, we continue to experience a stable engagement with government agencies by serving on a number of high-profile panels and committees. These included the Head of Civil Service, the Ministry of Tourism, YMCA, Ghana Chamber of Mines, the Chartered Institute of Bankers, the Public Services Commission, the Ghana Standards Authority, Ghana Water Company, and the Refugee Board of Ghana. In all these, we had to rely on the expertise of our members to leverage our strategic objective of raising the bar in HR management in Ghana. Now I'm turning to cost minimization. To stay afloat as a business, you need to increase your revenue or decrease your costs. And so on cost minimization, we made considerable savings on rent as our relocation to our property in East La, Te Ado. Am I right? Te Ado became a reality on the 6th of May 2019. We are pleased to state that we made a saving of an estimated amount of 127,500 Ghana cedis. So we are no longer, as the executive director said, we are no longer paying rent. We are in our own property. No matter the state, it is our property. Having said this, let me do a quick summary of our financial performance for the period. Our total income at 2017 stood at 1,615,732.33. In 2018, it stood at 1,861,354.75. And so we increased our income generation. With regard to expenditure, we decreased our expenditure from 1,418,040 cedis to 1,372,621.26. So our net surplus as at the end of 2018 was 488,733.49. So we made a gain through these initiatives, increasing revenue and cutting costs. Enough for financial perspective. Of course, it's finance that drives the business. Capacity building. In the area of capacity building, our energies were channeled into the following: the HR bill, of course, very high on the agenda. Network expansion, that is the creation of more chapters across the country. Strengthening of the secretariat, maintaining high HR competency levels in Ghana, and conferment of fellow status on deserving members. The HR bill. We continue to engage government on the bill, particularly through the Ministry of Education, following the first reading of the bill in Parliament and the publication of the HR bill in the Daily Graphic in March 2019 by the Parliamentary Select Committee on Education. As we speak, the bill is in Parliament awaiting the second reading, after which it will be passed into law. Various meetings that took place during the period to carry out amendments of the bill are detailed in the brochure that has been distributed to all of us. Network expansion. Here we are looking at the establishment of new chapters and branches. And I am pleased to state that the Institute was able to establish a new branch in Koforidua, of which the launch was held on September 21, 2019. It is worth mentioning. It is worth mentioning that Nana Kuyansa, a member of the Institute, and the Institute's learning partner for Eastern Region were very instrumental in putting the branch together. Nana Kuya, are you here with us? No, okay. Another chapter that is in the process of being formed is the Winneba chapter. Members held their maiden meeting on Tuesday, 27th of August 2019, and followed it up with another meeting on September 5th, 2019, where the Secretariat was represented by the Executive Director and the Advisory and Research Manager, my good Japanese friend, Yen Sapak, on the one part, and Mr. Francis Akrono, the Deputy Registrar of Institute for Educational Research and Innovation Studies, University of Education Winneba, on the other. Let me emphasize that the Registrar has been very instrumental in putting the Winneba chapter together. Strengthening of the Secretariat. Here we are looking at human capacity development in terms of critical personnel needed for the smooth operation of the Secretariat. In this regard, the Institute recruited a full-time General Facilities Assistant to support and maintain the facilities of the center. His name is Harrison Nyako, who was appointed into that position effective 1st July 2019. The position, additionally, the Institute recruited an IT administrator who is in the person of Bright Boatin Boachi. He joined us on October 14, 2019. You may recall that we had an IT administrator, but he resigned, and so we needed to replace him. Maintaining HR competency levels in Ghana was another area of capacity building. Here we are looking at the extent to which we sustain efforts at maintaining and raising competency levels of the HR management in Ghana. And we did this through the Professional Certification Program, the PCP, our flagship program, the Continuous Professional Development of Education, and the completion of the HR Institute Annex. The Professional Certification Program. In pursuit of raising competency levels in Ghana, we managed to continue operating the Learning Center in Tema and continued collaboration with learning partners like Quick HR Solutions in Kumasi, Corporate Excellence Consult in Takrady, Strategic Learning Solutions Limited Koforidua, and GILDS in Ho. We also continued to have the PCP fully take off at Tamale Technical University, Ho Technical University, University of Cape Coast, and Cape Coast Technical University. Several universities. A total of 409 individuals registered their interest directly with the HR Center to participate in the PCP for 2019-2020 academic year. This is an increase of 11.4% over the previous year. It means that our institute is becoming more and more popular. I'm also told that several public sector institutions insist that before you are recruited as an HR manager, you should have our certificate. So please, let us make sure you sustain this effort going forward. Continuous professional education. You were able to run the following programs: designing and implementing performance management system, compensation and total rewards, HR as a business partner, behavioral interview, and the HR professional and legal compliance. Unfortunately, as a result of low patronage, we cancelled 4 programs, namely the executive transforming leadership, change management, personal grooming and business etiquette, and career development and succession planning. The Institute's HR Complex Annex, once again I'm mentioning it here to the extent that it's strengthening the capacity of our institute. The HR Building Complex Annex project that commenced on 11th December 2017 with a view to completing it within 4 to 5 months was eventually completed officially handed over on the 6th of May 2019. It was a long and hard journey saddled with a number of challenges which completely threw the original plan out of gear. Some of the challenges encountered were highlighted in last year's report. The estimated cost of the building moved from the initial projection of 561,017 cedis to 1,155,356 cedis spot 37. So we had a budget overrun of over 100%. Recognizing a shortfall in the Institute finances, the National Governing Council had to source for a loan facility of 400,000 from Fidelity Bank. The loan was granted at an interest rate of 24.19% and is to be paid over a 3-year period. The monthly repayment is 15,729.01. Almost all outstanding works at the time we officially took possession of the building have been completed. An outstanding work that requires, as I mentioned earlier, our attention is the landscaping. And we have received proposals from a number of service providers. Now, in building capacity, we also thought of awarding or elevating some of our members to fellow status. So we came up with a committee to consider that, and the committee has submitted, and you will see from the brochure the personalities of members who are to be recognized and conferred as fellows. Now let me move to the customer perspective. And here we'll be looking at the following: stakeholder engagements, media engagements, collaboration with partners, customer satisfaction survey, HR magazine, and review of the PCP syllabus. Do we have the maiden edition of the HR magazine here, please? It is my good friend, I call him the Japanese. Yes, good. So before we get there, let us look at the stakeholder engagements that we had. Engagement with some major stakeholders to strengthen relationship and involvement in the program of HRMP was vigorously pursued. Key partners included the Public Services Commission, the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, the Parliament of Ghana, the Local Government Service, Institute of Chartered Accountants, the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Chartered Institute of Marketing, Institute of Public Relations, the National Labor Commission, Ghana Employees Association, the Head of Civil Service, and many more. Additionally, the Institute had representation in serving as speaker or guest speaker at a number of meetings, workshops, and summits. Media engagement. In line with media engagement, the President, the Vice President, the Executive Director, and other council members granted interviews on several FM stations, radio stations, and on TV. In addition to the above, a number of adverts and publications were placed in the Daily Graphic, the Business and Financial Times, the Ghanaian Times, ADR Online, and the Daily Guide, covering our PCP and the CPE's seminar for members. We also wrote a few articles in the dailies. Collaboration. The Institute's collaborative effort with partners led to a number of speaking opportunities during the period under review. Such speaking engagements covered the University of Education Winneba, KNUST Career Fair, the Regent University College Career Fair, the University of Ghana Career Fair, the University of Cape Coast Career Fair, the Ghana Technology University College Career Fair, and the Institute of Procurement and Supplies, just to mention a few. Collaboration with TALO also led to the launch of the second edition of the mentorship program on 24th July 2019. If TALO is represented here, we want to congratulate you for this effort of granting mentorship programs for future HR practitioners. It's Customer Satisfaction Survey. For a second year running, the SurveyMonkey tool was deployed to conduct a survey to gauge the perception and satisfaction of our services to our stakeholders and to our customers, some of whom are internal customers, others are external customers. This time around, however, the response or the patronage was very low. There were 122 out of 1,300 members who were emailed, responded to the questionnaire. All others, we did not get a response. So the sample size is quite small, but at least we've conducted this to assess the level of satisfaction of our end users, the end users of our services. The HR magazine. Yes, the HR magazine. Plans are far advanced to undertake research work in identified HR areas of interest and to produce an HR magazine entitled HR News. HR News of high substance and quality to meet both professional interests and corporate needs. The target is to get it ready for the AGM, and indeed it's ready and with me here. Thank you very much for the editorial team. Editorial team, thank you for the very hard work done. Thank you. Executive Director, will they be for free or they are for free? Oh, okay. Review of the PCP syllabus. The only constant in today's world is change. Everything is changing, and so our syllabus, the content of our syllabus must be changed to reflect the needs of industry. So four teams were constituted by the council last year and are still working on the review of the syllabus. They are looking at incorporating new areas like business ethics, leadership, HR service model, HR strategic planning, mediation, alternative dispute resolution, emotional intelligence, change management, HR metrics and analytics, and others. The exercise is to be carried out over 5 years so as to ensure that the contents of the program is maintained and made relevant at all times. Internal processes. Under this perspective, we are looking at two main issues: the organizational structure and the software development. In anticipation of the HR being passed into law, the organizational structure is currently being reviewed. This is to ensure that it reflects the changing needs and accommodates new functional areas that will have to be handled by the passing of the bill into law. In pursuit of these, we are engaging other professional bodies like the Institute of Chartered Accountants Ghana, and then the Institute of Engineers to pick up their brain as to how to structure ours. Having covered the four perspectives, I'll now turn to our outlook for the coming year, 2020. The Institute will be pursuing its growth agenda aggressively by tapping into opportunities in the regions for increased membership and patronage. In this regard, we will be seeking to establish more chapters across the regions. We had 10 regions. As we speak, we have 16, and we need representation in every region, including the new regions. So you will be our agents in ensuring that we reach out to the regions. HR charter status. Like I said earlier on, we will continue to vigorously pursue our lobbying and engagement with government and its relevant agencies to finalize the charter status by the passing of the law. We are confident that with the assurances given by the Minister of Education, the bill will be passed into law by the end of the year. So each morning when you go on your knees making supplications to the Almighty God, keep us in mind. We need to improve our status, a chartered institute, where we will have the power to license our members. And without our licenses, you cannot practice. So that is where we are getting to. E-learning. We look forward to extending the Institute's program to those who are not able to access our programs through the normal channel. Thus, leveraging on technology and software application to bring the program to the doorsteps of those who desire to pursue professional HR training. An executive director, it will be at a cost. So that will be revenue mobilization. Thank you. So help us mobilize more money. Research activity. In the coming year, we shall continue with activities that will enable us to undertake research activities in the field of HR practice. This will be done with the hope of attracting more consultancy services. So like I said earlier on, please be our agents. Let your companies extend consultancies to us so we can also make some money. HR is so powerful, but when it comes to mobilizing funds, I don't see them being able to mobilize funds for us. So please, be an agent for us going forward, and an active one as such. Now I turn to expansion and collaboration. We will continue to collaborate and work closely with learning partners to penetrate and establish presence in all regional capitals, as I said earlier on. Now the HR Star Award has been on hold for a while, as well as the Chief Executive Officers Breakfast Forum. It's all because of money. We don't have money. These are events that require substantial amount of money. Hence, we are trusting that corporate Ghana will support us in making this reality again in 2020. The support from the membership will be very crucial in this pursuit. Hence, we are also counting on all of you to do your bit in enabling the Institute stage the next awards event. When we stage these awards, we get a lot of publicity. So please support us individually. I mean, our subscription is so low, but that is the floor. You can choose to top up, and you gradually receive and use for the desired purpose. Now, the purchase of a vehicle. Our vehicle is 10 years old, and the time has come for us to replace. So we also have to mobilize funds to replace the vehicle. When a vehicle is so old, the cost of maintenance increases, and it doesn't become economically reasonable to keep the vehicle. In conclusion, I would like to stress that we are steadfast in our determination to make our institute the professional HR institute of choice. And I invite you to come on board as institutional citizens rather than spectators in this effort. And as usual, I end all my reports with a prayer. And so I pray again that may the good Lord be ahead of us to lead us, beside us at all times to protect us, behind us to support and preserve us, and within us to inspire. Above all, he should be above us to bless, for that is his nature, to bless. Thank you very much for your rapt attention.
Thank you, Mr. President. That was a very powerful prayer. And what I took from your speech, one thing, we should go out there and be good agents of the Institute to bring in more business. Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, an interesting session of the 2019 AGM is where we are. We're going to have some conferrals. And to do the conferrals, we have a wonderful, exciting young man to lead this. And the young man has been the HR director for Guinness Ghana Limited before. He has been virtually like a secretary ED under Professor Reku when he was president of IHRMP. And this young man is a fellow, and he's the senior fellow. He's a senior
Fellow.
This one has been conferred by the executive director, senior fellow. And I said, he's a very young man. And he's a wonderful man, very supportive of IHRMP activities. Ladies and gentlemen, with a loud round of applause, shall we welcome the young man, Mr. John Imbro. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the young man coming. That's the young man coming. That's the young man coming. He will be assisted by our executive director, Mr. Ebi Agbeto. Okay.
Thank you very much. I'm surely growing younger. Thank you. Yes. Yes, ours is a very simple ceremony, but very important for all of us. The fellow status is the highest in all institutions you can ascribe to. And we are encouraging everybody to strive to be a fellow. Our criteria is very simple. 10 years membership of the Institute, performance, help the Institute to grow, performance at your workplace. And then you must be a guru in two of the 7 thematic areas that we have. Let me quickly do that. Strategic human resource management, that's one. Human resource development practice, talent management, recruitment and compensation management, business communication, industrial relations practice, and legal aspects of human resource. These are the 7 areas. And our constitution says 2, but I think it should be 3, at least 3. And then when you attain fellow status, then you must continue to build yourself up to cover all the areas, because as a fellow, we will call upon you at any time, everywhere, and you must be able to stand up and to deliver. We have introduced another aspect to our criteria. We want to see what you have done at the workplace, something that you have accomplished at the workplace. So when you apply for, yes, and it's by application, if you apply for a fellow status, we want to come over to your workplace and see what you have done, that your CEO or your company should be able to testify that you have achieved this for the company and have made a difference to the company. Without much ado, I'd like to go through several years ago, or several decades ago, we formed the Industrial Area Personnel Management Association, Industrial Area Personnel Management Association. And in DAPMA, the chairman was Mr. Samuel Ransford Asiedu. And we would go to some places, and there was a particular place, Gihok Distilleries. There was a lady there, and she made fun of us. So I'll go with Mr. Asiedu, and we will go there. And my brother, yes, I was saying, you remember, my brother, you remember we will go to Gihok, and the woman was always referring to us as what?
Used to. She decided you really want to say. You can't say it.
So she would say in Padma, and then we said no, it's in Dapma. No, she says in Padma. Yes, good. So shall we read the
GM brochure, the various details of each person that would be called. But we would read the citation, the certificate of elevation, IHRMP. This is to certify that Mr. Samuel R. Asiedu, having satisfied the qualifying requirements prescribed by the National Governing Council and as defined in the Constitution of the Institute, was conferred a Fellow of IHRMP Ghana on Friday, the 8th day of November, 2019, and is entitled to all privileges and rights pertaining to that status, given under the common seal of the Institute. And it's been signed by Mr. John Imbro, Chairman, Fellowship and Membership Committee, IHRMP Ghana, and the National President, Dr. Edward Kwapong of IHRMP Ghana.
Well done for this achievement.
The wife is here. The wife is here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The wife is here.
Okay. Congratulations.
Okay.
Okay.
Ms. Felicia Osafo. Having satisfied the qualifying requirements prescribed by the National Governing Council and as defined in the Constitution of the Institute, was conferred a Fellow of the IHRMP Ghana on Friday, 8th of November, and is entitled to all the privileges and rights pertaining to that status, given under the common seal of the Institute, signed John Umbro, signed Edward Kwapon, President. Okay. Austin, please come. Our past president, Mr. Austin Game. He will give out the award. He will give the award to Mr. Robert A. Quay. Miss Mildred Shika Tete.
Shika. The next senior person who will help us is in the person of Mr. Gabra. Mr. Gabra.
Mr. Gabra is a Western show boy. Yes. Mr. Leonard Kwaku Pome. Our vice president. Mr. Evans Kofi Baiche. He's not properly dressed. He should have been a GTP. He She has been a GTP dress, then we will know. Yes. Kofi.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gabra. Thank you. Thanks. Mr. Atapedu, please step forward. Mr. Atapedu, you're going to do the next for us.
Henry and I are on the committee examining the examination board. Mr. George Antubuatin.
Thank you. Thank you. Atapedu, please hold on for the next person.
Dr. Anthony Kwame Apezi.
Thank you, Atapedu. Mr. John Warman. Mr. John Warman, please step forward.
Mr. Andrews Osei Okra. Dr. Kwame Nyamiche. Abu Lawyer.
Thank you. Thank you. Fellows, I'm asked. Okay. Yeah, we are through with you. Thank you very much, Mr. Warman. Thank you very much. Dr. Kwashi, I think you do one for us. Dr. Kwashi, please come over.
Right. Honorary fellows, men and women who have contributed to our cause. The first, Mr. Kweku Ando Awatri, or his rep.
He's not here.
His rep.
He's not here at the moment.
Mr. George Tete Adama.
Yes. Our pillar in Kumasi. That is our pillar in Kumasi. Thank you so much for the service you've rendered to the Institute. Thank you. Pillar in Kumasi. Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Kwashi. May I ask my good friend, Mr. Paul Nati, please. Paul Nati, can you come and do this for us? Yes.
Mr. Emmanuel Edusa Akodie.
Very supportive to the Institute. Very, very supportive. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We are done.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chairman. Thank you so much.
Back.
Thank
we'll
you.
be coming back another 2 years, and I'm hoping that we'll be honoring some more of our distinguished.
Thank you very much, Mr. Imbro. Round of applause for the young man as he leaves the podium. Mr. John Imbro. Give him a round of applause, please. And then for the fellows who have just been conferred, it's not like I'm trying to homo them, but please, would you come in front for a group picture with the Executive Director, our guest speaker, and we have Mr. Collins Sapon of the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply in the house. He's the president of the Ghana Institute of Procurement and Supply. Please, kindly rise up so we know that you will give discounts and you do some things. It's the discounts we look at. Then he came along with Mr. Vincent Mensah. Mr. Vincent Mensah, forgive me, I'm not sure I've got your title yet, but if you can whisper it out, this lady and gentleman, they are very good at. They're on the council, so they know what to do. Round of applause for our colleagues from GIPS. Dora.
At this moment, I have the singular honor to read a professional summary of our guest speaker, Mr. Roxin Kwesi Dogbega. Right. So Roxin Dogbega is the president of the Institute of Directors, Ghana, and the executive chairman of B-Rock Ventures Limited. He is a fellow of the Institute of Directors of Ghana, fellow of the Chartered Institute of Administrative and Management Consultants, fellow of the Chartered Institute of Building, FCIOB UK, fellow of the Royal Institute of Chartered Surveyors, FRICS UK. He's also a fellow of the Ghana Institute of Construction, FGIOC, a chartered member of the Society for the Environment. Roxin is also a member of the Project Management Institute, PMI, of USA, and a council member of the Ghana chapter. He has over 28 years executive managerial level experience in diverse fields. He is a thought leader in, so I'm going to read what goes with the thought leader: construction management, organizational development, OD as we know, coaching and mentoring, entrepreneurial development, policy development, strategy development, and corporate governance expertise. He has served on over 30 boards and committees in his professional life and has over 30 excellence awards in various disciplines. Shall we welcome him with a round of applause?
As the theme of his speech is corporate governance, the role of human resource management. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. A very good morning to all of you. I thought I'll get a better response than that, or maybe because I'm not a human resource person. A very good morning. Good morning. Yes, I feel a better welcome than. First of all, I wish to congratulate the President, the Governing Council, and members of this great institute for being able to build your own office. Congratulations. Institute of Directors is about 20 years old. Obviously, you are much, much, much older than the Institute of Directors. You are about 40 years old and you've been able to put up your building. In fact, we are still struggling to even get the land. And so I see this as a very, very big achievement. And I see you have a lot of other initiatives rolling on, particularly the one to do with getting professional certification for the Institute. Another big congratulations to all of you. And I also want to salute the new fellows of the Institute. My good friend Shika is one of them, who is a past president of the Rotary Club of Spinters. I'm a member of the Rotary Club. I don't attend meetings, and she's always lashing me. So when I saw her this morning, I told her, please don't lash me this morning. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's a joy to be here to share with you some perspectives on corporate governance. So the chair is out, but then I have to address the chair, who is the president of the institute, the vice president, the executive directors, the members of the governing council, the president of the procurement professionals. Forgive me if I don't get the name right. The distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Before I proceed, let me also acknowledge the 4-star generals of the house. You see, because it is very difficult to get participation in professional institutions. It's very difficult to get volunteers, always been there. And that is one of the challenges why we are not growing as a professional institute. And I'm very happy to see my colleague, the president of the procurement people here. But moving forward, we need the appropriate synergy to be able to promote professionalism in this country. In the morning, I saw that the seats reserved for professional institutions were virtually empty. But I'm very encouraged that at least we have one, or perhaps two, been here. I'm hoping that in the future we will have a lineup of them. It's important. We need a synergy to be able to champion our cause as professional institutions. To this effect, the Governing Council, let me say that the IOD will be very happy to collaborate with you in all your endeavors. And we'll be very happy to support as much as possible. Let me use the opportunity to invite you to our Excellence Awards and a conference coming up soon at Kempinski on the 22nd. In fact, there's a master class on the 23rd at the same venue. We are bringing in one of the world's most renowned person in corporate governance to come and share some perspectives. So whilst you're desirous to know about corporate governance, there are much experienced people in that field, and it will be good to have you attend. It's a master class for 23rd. And again, before I proceed to do business today, I've gotten a few requests to know what is IOD and what the membership requirement is and all of that. So let me use 1 minute of your time, Mr. President, to share some perspectives on IOD. So IOD is a corporate governance institute registered some 20 years ago. And the business of IOD is to champion and promote good corporate governance. Membership is open to all who are of sound mind. So you must be above 21 years of age. There are two routes to membership. One is through training. You must have a minimum of 36 contact hours in corporate governance. And the other is a direct admission route, which is open to those who have the credentials in corporate governance already and have a very heavy dose of managerial and leadership experience. Those people, we admit them and give them an orientation. So there's not much of commitment. There's also a concern that people belong to so many things, so many institutions, they don't want to add on. But as far as IOD is concerned, we don't demand so much of you. We'll expect that you attend our monthly seminars at least and be up to speed with your own personal development. That is all. Is it very demanding? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I deem it a great honor to be invited to speak on the theme, Corporate Governance, the Role of the Human Resource at your 2019 AGM. I find the theme very apt and timely in the midst of the troubling corporate governance challenges that has infected our socio-economic dynamics in recent times. Mr. Chairman, there has been a drastic change in the way the human resources field has evolved. There was a time when the human resource professionals' role was limited to hiring, firing, and payroll. In recent times, HR roles have diversified to include more of talent management responsibilities, thereby ensuring that they develop and maintain a corporate culture resulting in the success of the organization in the face of ever-intensifying competition. Today, more than ever, modern HR professionals are required to have an in-depth knowledge about the organization's core competencies. The importance of HRM in gaining competitive advantage has been long recognized. Such importance is enhanced to the extent that HR practices are successful in developing organizational capabilities that enable an organization to adapt to a changing environment. These practices provide the infrastructure necessary for the organization to create value. Some authorities argue that the HR function must be involved not only in strategy implementation, but also, more importantly, in strategy formulation. However, it appears that focusing HR's involvement in strategy formulation and its implementation is not enough for the organization to create value and sustain its competitive advantage. It cannot be assumed explicitly that managers possess the vision and managerial skills to lead the organization even as they discharge their duties with discipline and without external control, taking into consideration the concerns of the different stakeholders, and this is where corporate governance kicks in. Mr. Chairman, the Cadbury report defines corporate governance as a system by which companies are directed and controlled, whilst the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development defines corporate governance as a set of relationships between a company's management, its board, its shareholders, and other stakeholders. A good corporate governance architecture is necessary to streamline the activities of individuals, teams, and their entire organizations to be efficient and effective in their roles, to prevent negative occurrences such as corruption, embezzlement, tax evasion, sexual harassment, victimization, theft, but to mention a few. Policies developed by the human resource through the board are to guide the behaviors of individual employees as well as the culture of the organization to set the tone for organizational success. Mr. Chairman, this presentation will later highlight the responsibilities of various players in the governance architecture of an organization. But before then, I would like to touch on the key pillars of corporate governance. The first one is transparency. The second is accountability. The third is integrity. And the fourth is fairness. Transparency in corporate governance has to do with openness and the willingness by a corporation to disclose clear, factual, and accurate information to its shareholders and stakeholders. For this reason, the board of directors as well as managers are to be held accountable for their decisions. The owners of the company as well as its stakeholders must be informed about the strategic plans of the company, activities involved in as well as the potential risks and opportunities associated with these activities. Accountability in corporate governance is all about responsibility and answerability to shareholders and stakeholders of the company. This in certain circles will be referred to as the act of stewardship. The board is responsible for strategic direction of the company, whereas management is responsible for the operationalization of these strategies of the board. In this case, management is accountable to the board, whilst the board is accountable to its shareholders and stakeholders. Integrity in corporate governance is about adherence to strict ethical and moral standards, notwithstanding any form of compulsion from others to act otherwise. It can also be said to be putting the interests of the entire organization above individuals by ensuring that the interests of shareholders and stakeholders are protected and maximized. Fairness in corporate governance is basically about treating shareholders and stakeholders with equity. Mr. Chairman, the absence of these four key elements in corporate governance in corporate environment affects the credibility of the organization. And we have all been witnesses of the effect of some corporate failures in Ghana, which has contributed to the collapse of many banks and other sectors of the economy. And to cure this, there is the need for a renewed mindset for board membership, which has become a status symbol and an opportunity to create wealth by the individual board members other than to provide service. In some cases, it has become an avenue for political compensation. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this invariably affects the quality of leadership of organization, and for that matter, affects the ability of the organization to achieve its intended objectives. Enhancing knowledge in corporate governance must therefore be a key concern for all who aspire for positions on boards and committees. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it's important for me to share with you some roles of the board. The board has fundamentally 4 main roles. The first one is to steer and set the strategic direction of the organization. The second is to approve the policy and plans for effective implementation of the activities of the organization. The third is for the board to oversee and monitor activities of the organization. And the fourth is for the board to ensure accountability. For the board to be able to discharge this effectively, there are some principles and practices which the board must abide by. The board must lead the organization ethically and effectively. And if I talk about ethical leadership, it is about those 4 pillars: transparency, accountability, fairness, integrity, responsibility. The second principle is that the organization is and seen as a responsible corporate citizen. So beyond the organization being a corporate citizen, it is the duty of the board to ensure that it is also seen as such. The board must serve as a focal point and custodian of corporate governance in the organization. The board must ensure that reports issued enable stakeholders to make informed assessments and decisions on the performance of the organization in the short, medium, and long term. The board must ensure that its delegation processes within its own structures promote independent judgment and assist the balance of power in the discharge of their duties. The board must govern risk in a way that supports the organizational setting in achieving its strategic objectives. And the board must govern compliance with applicable laws, rules, and codes in a way that supports the organizational ethics, among others. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, let me share a few thoughts with you on the selection process. The composition of a board of any organization must have the appropriate balance of human resource in terms of their knowledge, skill sets, and their capacity to objectively analyze situations and make better submissions, decisions, and judgments. The King 4 Governance Code makes a few recommendations as follows. In my opening statement, I told you about an authority we're bringing, and that is Mervyn King. He is coming, and he makes these following recommendations. Number 1, the board should assume responsibility for its composition by setting the direction and approving the processes for it to attain the appropriate balance of knowledge, skills, experience, diversity, and independence to objectively and effectively discharge its governance roles and responsibilities. 2. The board should comprise a majority of non-executive members, most of whom should be independent. 3. The CEO and at least one other executive should be appointed to the board to ensure that it has more than one point of direct interaction with management. 4. The board should establish arrangements for periodic staggered rotation of its members so as to refresh its capabilities by introducing members with new expertise and perspectives while retaining valuable knowledge, skills, and experience and maintaining continuity. 5. The board should establish a succession plan for its membership and for the organization, which should include the identification, mentorship, and development of future candidates. And finally, the board must conduct performance appraisal for itself, either by themselves or outsourced to professionals in that space. And for example, this is where the Institute of Directors comes in. Some places I have had the opportunity to speak. When I ask the board members there whether they do performance appraisal, most of the time I get a no answer. I'm just hesitating to ask the board of human resource practitioners whether they do performance appraisal, but I won't, ask them. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, one of the most important roles of the board is to appoint the chief executive officer and some executive positions in the organization. This doesn't happen very often, particularly in the public sector for state-owned enterprises. In some instances, CEOs are appointed by politicians instead of the board. And this is where the fighting, the power play begins between the CEO and the board. So the board, who is supposed to be directing and controlling the activities of the organization, has no control over the CEO, who is to operationalize the board decision. What do you think will happen? What did you say? Yeah? Chaotic. Yes. And that is why we see sometimes, the exchanges in the papers, you see a board chairman fire one letter here and the CEO fire another one. That is the reason. And so good corporate governance practices prescribe that the appointment of CEOs must be the sole responsibility of the board. Best practice recommends the following roles for the CEO, among others. 1. The CEO should be responsible for leading the implementation and execution of approved strategy, policy, and operational planning, and should serve as the chief link between management and the board. 2. The CEO should be accountable and must report to the board. 3. The CEO should not be a member of the remuneration, audits, or nomination committees, but should attend by invitation any meeting or part thereof if needed to contribute pertinent insights and information. This is to prevent any form of conflict of interest which may arise. 4. The CEO and the board should agree on whether the CEO takes up additional professional positions, including membership of other governing bodies outside the organization. 5. The board should formally evaluate the performance of the CEO against agreed performance measures and targets, at least annually. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, before I take my seat, another very critical responsibility of the board is to ensure that the organization remunerates fairly, responsibly, and transparently, so as to promote the achievement of the strategic objectives of the organization and to attract, motivate, reward, and retain human capital. Mr. Chairman, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, if these principles and practices are effectively monitored and implemented in the organizations, it will lead to 4 main outcomes. One of that is ethical leadership, otherwise ethical culture. The second will be good performance. The third will be effective controls. And the fourth will be legitimacy. And legitimacy is about trust. Once stakeholders can trust you as an organization, I'm sure you'll be in business forever. And for this to be achieved, there's the need to engage the right people at the right places in the governance and management architecture of the organization. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, guest speaker, Mr. Dobega. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Shall we give him another round of applause, please? Brilliant insight. I'm sure we should be digesting. We are not going to summarize like we did last year. Last year, we did that because of the language barrier for some of you, but this one was clear. I don't like the way you're laughing, Mr. E.D., but this one was clear. Ladies and gentlemen, presentation. Let's do it. Presentation. Competency. We are evaluating him, eh? He has advised that we do things like that and you do it on us. So we are doing that. Brilliancy. Experience. Which one do you want again? Ladies and gentlemen, that was a good one. That one was a good one. Lots to really brainstorm. And at the Tema chapter, I know that we are going to digest and compromise, and we are going to mix the words from CEO, from board. I think it opens up opportunities for us. So we will do that discussion. I'm sure Accra chapter will copy us. Tema chairman, I'm speaking on your behalf that we will discuss the paper and come out with something for the institute. I'm sure Accra chapter, you will copy us. And then Koforidia, and then Kumasi, Takradi. Mr. Kwanzaa, where are you? Can you give me a wave? The president of, sorry. Vice chair, forgive me, because I've been seeing him in the meetings. Mr. Gaba, he's the vice chair. Thank you very much. Okay, Dora, please. We are going to do this. The president of the National Governing Council hinted about it. I want to call a wonderful member of the council, National Governing Council of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, who is the editor-in-chief of this wonderful HR News magazine. In no other person, but my bona fide friend. We share some ideas, but we can't tell the people. So we, Mr. Isaac Saki, Please, shall we give him a round of applause? He's going to be supported because our national president is, please, the vice president, a new fellow. That's right, that's right. Okay.
It's been a very long journey. It's been a very long battle. Mr. President, our guests, fellow HR practitioners, ladies and gentlemen. We've had challenges, obstacles, impediments, and roadblocks. In fact, please, roadblocks. We had always believed that as a credible, reputable, professional body, we needed a mouthpiece to tell our story, showcase our successes, market our services, a tool for continuous learning, and as a learning organization. Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen, even without my glasses, I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. Can you see the light? I can feel it and I can smell it. What about the brains behind this masterpiece? Let us recognize and appreciate them. Mr. President, you know, the encouragement, the motivation, you know, Isaac, get going. Isaac, make it happen. We have made it happen. Let's recognize our own Executive Director, Ebenezer. Josephine. And our own hardworking Yen. We thank you for the invaluable contribution. I'm just excited. I'm delighted. I'm virtually over the moon. I'm therefore privileged and honored to formally launch the HR News, our mouthpiece, and a masterpiece.
All I want to add is that this has come to stay. For it to stay, we need all of you to contribute to it. So please, HR people, we write in our offices, but every time we are asked to write outside our offices, we are like, please, all of us will have to start writing. So we are going to count on you for the next session. They are not going to do all the work again this time. We are going to count on all of you. So we'll start sending emails. We'll start bombarding you with emails for you to submit articles. We want well-researched articles so we can feature in our own magazine. So I believe that the next one we will see Mrs. Safo Kantanka having written on a topic, and it will be featured in this. We want to see Mrs. Florence Hatchful, having giving us some direction from her rich experience. Fellow seeker, Tete. So I'm encouraging all of us to write. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just to add, this time around, it's free. It's free, and it's free. But come the second edition, we will expect some more contribution to kind of take care of the cost involved. I hope this is fair. Do you agree? Yes. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you for your attention.
Very well. Very well, Executive Director. Thank you. Very well, Executive Director. And may I add that the only way we can enjoy the free is when we get quality adverts paid for. So we are entreating ourselves, all the IHRMP members, HR practitioners, start speaking to those you know. I'm not saying speak to your company. If you know your company, fine. But I said start speaking to those who would like to sponsor into this magazine, and then it will give it the regularity. There's a lot of stuff. I just like the picture cover. I like the picture cover. We didn't wait till then we say posthumous. There's Professor T.B. Reku, Honorable Austin Game, Mr. Kweju Asari Bediako. There is Mr. John Wilson. Mr. John Wilson, can you wave me? Mr. John, I can see you here. Mr. John Wilson, you're here. Mr. Dana Chiampon, and then our wonderful President current, Dr. Edward Kwapon. Ladies and gentlemen, wonderful. The HR dues for our taking. I'm sure along the line too, certain teams may be formed to bring in some research work and write a report, from which we would all learn. So we are thanking God for everything that He's doing for us, and just be good. I think this is part of the group performance outcome that our guest speaker spoke of. Sir, did I get it? Wonderful. Round of applause for me, but not too much. It's okay. It's okay. Because it will come. Right. It's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we are almost to the end of the first session, plenary session, and then we'll get into the business session after a break. However, we're still going on with it. Now, I remember that Mr. Agbeto mentioned one Mr. Owusu, is that right? Kobna Owusu, who had passed away. There may be one or two others we haven't had wind of. May we, and I say respectfully, be on our feet and observe a minute's silence for the departed colleagues of ours, remembering Mr. Kwabna Owusu. May the blessed soul of our colleague, Mr. Kobna Owusu, and all other departed ones who were here with us at the last AGM, but are no more with us, rest in perfect peace. Amen. You may please take your seats.
All right, I think it's time for photo session. Would all step out and take the photo session, and then after that we'll have our snack break in the garden, still out.
We're going to have an interesting session with the council. The president is still summoned, but he is likely to come back. In the meantime, our vice president will run us down. I'd like to just say also, as I hold the mic, that let us show interest in what is going to take place, because hopefully, this is the last before the bill. So we have history in the making. And for that reason, you want it to be documented as having stayed till the end of the last AGM business session before the bill was passed. If you agree with me, say aye. And may the nays dare not say a nay. So the ayes have it. Mr. Vice President, please, this is the business session, and it's now over to you. I will take over when, in due course of time. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much, and good afternoon. And permit me to welcome you again to the business session. So the on the agenda is our minutes from the last AGM. And then we will look at matters arising from the minutes. So the first thing we'll do is to go through the minutes page by page to make corrections where we believe there are corrections. So we'll go through it, after which we will adopt the minutes, and then we will look at matters arising. So I'm going to go from page to page to see if there are any corrections that we want to make. So page 1. Any corrections on page 1? Okay, page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. And then page 10. Sorry, page 9. Yes. So, Mr. Bennett, can you spell that one for me? Okay. Okay. Thank you for the correction. So page 10 is the action tracker. Any corrections? Okay, in the absence of any further corrections to the minutes, may a member move for the adoption of the minutes as true reflection of our minutes from the last AGM. Please, a member who was present in that meeting, Please mention your name. Ama Enin. Okay. So go ahead.
I move for the adoption of the minutes.
Any seconder, please.
Seconded by Muriel Osaibunsu.
Thank you very much. So let's quickly go through the action tracker. After which, thankfully, our president is in. I'll hand over to him. So the first activity here is continue to push for charter status. I think this one, the president in his address has given some information on it. We are just waiting for the second reading, after which it will be passed. All the work has been done in the background. If the budget doesn't take their time for this sitting, it will be passed for this sitting. But if the budget takes their time, then probably we'll have to wait till the next sitting. But we are very confident that it can go. So 2, complete and move into HR complex annex. Do we have to talk about this? 3, intensify fundraising towards construction of HR complex. In fact, we have the main building to come. This is typical of us, the way we build. We do our outhouse first. You move in, and then you take your time and do your main house. It's the same thing we have done. So we all understand the model. So please, we still have to do the main building. Because the main building, I believe, will have something like this for our AGM.
Chair, there's a point I want to address. I know that we levied ourselves and then we graciously said we should use our own convenience to pay. But money is money, and there's also time value for money. And I know the list, and I know there are so many people who haven't paid. You see, when we were in school, we had something we call NCNC. No contribution, no chop. You see, so we should graduate out of it. So I will crave the indulgence of members here present. If you know, like you do the marriage vow, that you haven't, I leave it to the MC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nati, Chairman of the Building Committee. I think we still have the list of those who have contributed on the website. So if per chance, per adventure, if you have forgotten that whether you have paid or not, you can go and check. Maybe you paid part, you haven't paid all, but you have forgotten, you are not sure, you can go and check. Or you can even call the office and then you can make up for it. But please, we need to complete it. See, they say if you are building and you take too long, you won't finish. So once we've started, let's finish. Thank you. Send periodic reminders to members on levy payments. Okay. So we've addressed that. Was it done? Did you receive reminders? Okay. So I believe today the information about yourself you have given is up to date. So we will use that to update our records and then we can reach you. Thank you. 5, itemize.
I'll be attacked though. A colleague was rather asking, is there a system of payment using the MTN mobile money or any of the those services to make it easier for members to pay?
Yeah, as of now, we have an arrangement with Fidelity Bank, and therefore you can do so easily. We're exploring the MTN option, but that is yet to go through. So it's certainly on the table. Okay, thank you. Leo?
Please, are you okay? Okay. Okay, 6. Raise funds to organize CEOs forum. We were not able to raise the funds because the focus was on the building. So we couldn't raise the funds for this, and so the CEO breakfast forum did not happen. Hopefully, like the president said in his report, hopefully 2020 we will come back to it. And not just the CEO, but also the awards. 7, set committee to plan IHRMP Thanksgiving service. Okay.
Yes, we did put a committee in place. That is the events planning and awards committee. And that's how they came up with a week-long celebration. We had our health walk, and then we had a workshop on Wednesday. I think thinking through, they realized that it was a pack one. But having said that, I think the idea is to have the church service on our own premises. Okay, we want to have it there. That will be an attraction for everybody to come over. Then we'll have our Thanksgiving service there. So as we complete the landscape in the place, I'm sure we'll set the time for the Thanksgiving. Is that okay? Wonderful.
So point 9, prepare the legislative instruments. Okay, I think again in the introductions, our executive director actually introduced the chair of the committee that have already started work on the LI. So we have started work on it. They are doing their background work and putting stuff in place in anticipation of the bill coming into being. Having said that, we understand that now when any bill is passed into law, we have 12 months. So there is no room to say we are relaxing. By what Parliament does now, they have instituted that 12-month period for the LI to be done so that the bill can become operational. So we don't have a choice. We have to do it maximum within 12 months from the date the bill is passed into law. So we are actually working at it. And finally,
but what is the immediate future? We've heard of landscaping. So somebody will ask, okay, if we intend to do an extension or expansion, why do you want to spend a lot of money on landscaping? Okay, so I think at this meeting, we need to be clear that, okay, we finished phase 1, which gives us this. Phase 2 is 2 years from now. So it makes sense to do the landscaping. Or phase 2 is immediate. And for those who have not contributed into the building, there's a little bit of, okay, it's finished. Now if I say my contribution, cry, that feeling of being part of the building is not there. But to re-galvanize all of us, if we know that now we are getting to the phase 2, then our guilty conscience will begin to what? Click us. That, okay, you failed to be part of foundation. You can't fail this time. So I believe at this AGM, let's have clarity that phase 2 or phase 3 or phase 4 is coming on. So that we can look at the landscaping, because if you want to commit 50,000, probably can do extra rooms for us. So for us, it's key we have clarity on this.
Thank you very much. The building committee chair will respond, after which Mr. President will also contribute to it.
Okay, thank you for your interest. That is a very good one. Yes, the point is, we don't believe in classification like Annex 1, Annex 2, Annex 3. That will be very confusing because if you decide that you are now going to, for instance, we did the fence wall. I'm just coming from a point. We realized that we had a point for a walkway. It became an issue because once it rained heavily, and then the opening gave way for all unwanted water from outside to enter into the premises and flood the place. So if you see a mason closing it, will you call it phase 2? You won't. It's just a small intervention. The drawings are there, clearly defined. And like this room, every piece of building that is going to be put up has been shown the location. The structure you currently see there is in response to the presentation on the plan. The the landscaping has also been clearly defined. The bigger building that is to come, whatever we're going to do there now, we'll take and reserve the space for it. Right now, if it rains and you get in there, you import so much mud into the edifice there. So the key question is, should you wait until you put the building up, or you can make an intervention that will address this kind of stinky environment? Given that, so we want to ensure that the place as it stands now is user-friendly, it doesn't create nuisance, and then make users like us very comfortable. So the intent is that the clayey nature of the terrain as it is now, we need to do something to address it. So the investment we're going to put there is now and for the future. So if you say, like my brother wants the clarification, if you start clarifying number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, we will get to a point we will overcount and we will even forget it. So just if you are interested, my point is that be patient. When you go there, you will see that we have clearly defined where each building stands, and we can even show you the drawing to make you very comfortable. This is just my contribution. Thank you.
After my friend's intervention, it has lowered the way I wanted to speak. But first, I want to congratulate all of us, and particularly the council, particularly with the executive director, for the ability to put up the office as it is. When you enter there, you will get impressed. If you endorse it, let's clap for them. I'm more impressed. I'm very, very impressed. But I will say, like the previous speaker said before the planning committee, I will wish that we spend much on construction than the way we seem to be emphasizing on beautifying and this and that and that. I know that some are emergency, like what you talk about when it rains. Those emergency measures, we could take them. It could even be temporary emergency measure. But for instance, the floor they are using now, I suspect it was not designed for just the ground floor. I suspect we could even have another floor on top. If even the money we are organizing, we can put another floor on top. There will be more rooms for lectures and more rooms for conferences and meetings, so that we don't spend too much money beautifying the small edifice we have, but rather put up a bigger one. If even it is not complete, then we know we have assignment, and that to, I would say, move all of everybody to contribute, so that we try and even finish that block, so that we don't waste too much time beautifying the small edifice we've made. We may become complacent. Thank you.
Indeed, between the executive director and myself, we've held discussions on the possibility of moving up. There is a concrete floor right on top of his office, so we can have a couple of offices there. It doesn't mean we are going to devote the entire amount to beautification. We also have in mind a way of increasing office space there because we are going to recruit. In my report, I indicated that when the bill is passed, we will need more persons, more workers, and therefore we need to quickly. But to move to the main building now, right now we don't have the wherewithal to start that project. So you move up and then we also try to. But beautification is important. The executive director said that people have started renting the place and it's giving us money. So if you beautify, you get more revenue coming in. And for me, revenue is very important. So please bear with us. The council will do the needful. Thank you.
Yeah, I would like to suggest that I think at our next meeting there should be pictorials where we've gotten to on the building so that it will motivate others. Some people don't even know the office. So when they see pictures of what has been done and what needs to be done, I think it will motivate others to bring in their dues or what. I'm Barbara Edu Asante. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other?
Well, I would like to rather look at the point 9 where we were before we were dragged back. Raymond dragged us back. Well, we are the pressure of legislative.
Please hold on. Are you going to contribute towards the building? Towards the building. Then please, let's take that first, and then we'll come to you.
Please, my name is Grace Amanyogbeli. Please, the contribution, is it obligatory or is it free will? If it is obligatory, then I think that there is something missing. The force, the push for people to pay is not enough. And I think that having in mind present value of future cash flows, those who are delaying so much, the value of that amount is depreciating. And so maybe we should consider that. Otherwise, we should hurry up and pay the materials we can get from that amount today. As we delay, we won't get that. So indeed, the value is reducing.
Thank you very much. I would say that it was a decision that we made at AGM, and therefore it is binding. So it's obligatory. We accept that the force is not there, so we are going to put in some more. Thank you. Thank you very much, Grace. Is he on the building? Okay. So we'll take the last one on the building, and then we'll come to Bisadu.
Thank you. I'm hearing that new members are not fully apprised of the building fund contribution. That is what I'm hearing. So I believe if the emphasis and the push is there, new members should be made aware of it so that some of them will do the contribution. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that will come into the push.
Please, with regard to the building, I've also held discussions with the ED on the possibility of raising a little shed to the southern end of the building so that in between classes, our students can sit comfortably and eat and refresh and all that. So there are a lot of things we need to do between now and perhaps the next AGM before we think of moving on to the main project, the main building itself. So yes, we are constantly reviewing our finances vis-a-vis what we need the place and what we can do. Thank you.
Okay, so let's take you now. Moving on to point 9.
All right, colleagues, sorry, but let me express this thing. You know, I mentioned Raymond's name when I was talking, so he knows me, right? We are in touch. So when we say something, it's just like the same friendly relationship, not any hard up. So please cool down. All right, so Mr. President, you were saying that there is already a committee that is working at the preparation of the legislative instrument, which is very vital and key to the act that is coming. All right. May I know if we will get some timelines in terms of when they are come to consult us to make inputs and all those things? Well, it's very important that we make input into the legislative instrument before it is by itself passed as well.
Okay, thank you very much. The chairman of the committee is not here, but it is normal practice that when we are doing these things, people make input. So at the appropriate time, members will be made aware and we will take input from members. Well, the chairman is not here. I am not part of the committee, so I cannot respond. I can't give you the details. That's right. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, we will certainly reach out to you for your views. You know, a legislative instrument works to operationalize the main act itself. And therefore, everybody will study the act and see areas that we need to throw more light for ease of implementation of the law. So we will do exactly that. We will reach out to you for your views and inputs in areas that you think we should beef up whatever material is available. Okay.
Please, when the law is passed, it will become a public document. We can all have access to it from Assembly Press, which is just here. So we can all get a copy of it, and you can write to the secretariat, and it will be given to the committee to consider. So you don't have to wait to be invited. If you go through and you think there are areas where you can contribute into the legislative instrument, you can write. You can write either with your contribution or write to seek, an interaction with the committee so you can make your point to them. It is open. Okay, so we move on to the next point. Open a chapter in Cape Coast.
The main man is sitting right in front of me. He encountered a lot of challenges, and that's why it didn't happen. But elsewhere, it did. And Koforidua is here to attest to that. Just around the corner is Winneba. I'm going there on the 14th of November to go and launch that chapter. So indeed, we are on the move. Mr. President is asking me who asked me to. That's strange. You are aware.
We're together in Koforidua for the launch of the Koforidua chapter.
Exactly. So we are on the move. So Cape Coast, we are hoping you up your game, and then we'll get it established. Come next year, we will proudly announce your arrival. Thank you. Cape Coast, I think the man is here. I don't know whether it is.
Thank you. I think with Cape Coast, what we started was meeting with some of those in the academia with University of Cape Coast. I met with the HR for Ghana Health Service in Cape Coast as well. Then the idea was to at least provide us with their HR cohort, those parts in HR within the various sectors, that's the health service as well as the University of Cape Coast. They had quite a pool of HR practitioners among them, but the next thing was for them to organize a venue so that at least because of course we also have a center in Takoradi and we have some participants coming from Cape Coast, so they also inform. So the idea is that they organize a venue, we put them together, the public can now liaise with the council to inform the executive, that's the president and ED. Then we can now move to launch the chapter. But unfortunately, that never came up. That's the reason why. So we are still in touch with them. But as it stands right now, I know Koforidua is down. Then the next target that we are now having is Techiman. It's something that had been mentioned somewhere 2 months ago. So you're going to look at that as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, from council level, we've also had interaction for secretariat level and council level. We've had interaction with the University of Cape Coast. Quite a number of the lecturers have actually gone through our professional program as well. A number of them have gone through because they had a dean of the business school who insisted that everybody in the business school must do a professional program. So marketing, finance, HR, everybody had to go through a professional certification program. So most of the lecturers in the faculty have gone through our program. So we are still working with them to try and get the chapter started. Indeed, in the reports, we also mentioned that we are still working with them to try and have a center, a learning center there as well. So all that is in the conversation. And we are hoping that once we are still in touch with them, it will kick in. Okay.
Yeah, my name is Edward Tete. I want to know whether, I want to be informed about the criteria for setting up a chapter. If you can brief us on that. Thank you.
It will certainly need a lead person who wants to make things happen. We as a secretariat, we can't be on the ground, so we need somebody to show great interest. And with that, be able to kind of mobilize the HR practitioners in the area. And that's why I think the two new chapters, we mentioned those who played instrumental role. For Koforidua, it was Nana Equia. She was the one I was dealing with all the time. And she was able, we gave them letters to send it around all the companies in the area, introducing the institute and also introducing the lead person, and therefore getting access to the HR practitioners in all those organizations within that area. With that, then they would then organize a meeting, and usually you need a venue. Here again, the person who's leading will have a lot of sacrificial work on his or her hand, because he has to get all these things done. And then where there's a support from the head office, then we will do that. So it starts with somebody standing up. Takrady was there, it went down, and then we had Benjamin who stood up and then went round and we were able to mobilize them. I think that time it was Mr. Wilson who was even the president. So he went there to inaugurate it. Mr. President, is that not the case? Yes. So we always, hope to get somebody who will take the lead and then we'll be there to support. Thank you.
Mr. President, I'm these days regularly resident at Ejumaku, and that's the Ejumaku campus of UEW. The registrar there is our member. I don't know if he's here today. Registrar UEW Ejumaku. I'm linking myself up with the lead man, and come next year, Cape Coast will go down.
Yeah, Aminu Sulemana is my name. I remember somewhere last 2 years, I met with Executive Director in Tamale. Yes, and he briefed me a little about how he was making arrangements for the institute to be running in Tamale. But for some time now, I've not heard anything. But this morning, I heard Nancy was making arrangements with the Tamale Technical University. So I would want to know, because if it has to do with people sacrificing, I believe there are people who would be ready to sacrifice for a chapter, and for that matter, even running the institute. So I would want to know what issues are with the the opening of the Tamale chapter, and for that matter, the institute, as in possibly the writing of the exams.
I have personally been to see the rector of Tamale Technical University, and he made assurances to the effect that he will provide space, and he also mobilize even resource persons in Tamale to deliver. So it's a matter of then getting somebody who will do the legwork for us to set up, and then you roll. So plans are well advanced in getting it started. And so thank you for reminding us. But he was very, very, very positive about numbers once we establish a chapter there. So be reassured, and I'm in touch with him too.
Following the visit of the president, I also went there personally. Met the rector. He assigned a gentleman to coordinate that we'll be able to run the program there. It's been back and forth. The challenge with the public sector is that things move so slowly. That's the truth. Very, very slowly. And when let me qualify this. So far, the universities that we have been dealing with, things have not been moving as quickly as we expect. When it comes to the private sector, they move and move fast. We even put together banners. It was advertised on our website with Tamale Technical University. For whatever reason, it just didn't fall through. Here again, talking about a chapter, I also came to Tamale, and it was led by this gentleman at the health service. He mobilized almost about 30 people. There are pictures to this. They actually selected interim executives, and I launched it. It's just that, unfortunately, they have not been working. We have a similar situation in Tarkwa. Tarkwa too, I was there, and here again, it looks like they are not moving as we will expect. But here again, we need to kind of keep putting fire in there. But yes, you did come to see me, and I think I recall mentioning this to you. I was hoping I could have come over again before this AGM, but unfortunately that did not happen. But it is in the pipeline, and we'll keep it up. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe what we can do is that we can connect with you and see how you can link up with the others and see how you can push it. All right. Okay. Okay, so we have looked at all the issues here. So any other matter arising from the minutes of our last AGM? Any other matter which has not been captured in the tracker? Okay, so then we move on to the next phase. This is where I hand over to Mr. President.
Thank you, but I'll decline this time around. You are doing so well, so continue.
Okay, we per our agenda, we have a presentation of auditors' reports by Decap Associates. So, shall we have them present the report to us?
Thank you very much. Mr. President, members of the Governing Council, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we present to you our report on the audit of the financial statement of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana, for the financial year ended 31st December 2018. We have audited the financial statements on pages 6 to 8, which have been prepared under the Historical Cost Convention, and the accounting policies and explanatory notes as set out on pages 9 to 16. Directors' responsibility for the financial statements. The preparation of the financial statement is the responsibility of the Institute's directors. Responsibility of the independent auditors. It is our responsibility to form an independent opinion based on our audit of the financial statements and to report our opinion to you. Basis of our opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with international standards on auditing. Those standards require that we comply with ethical requirements and plan and perform the audit to obtain reasonable assurance on whether the financial statements are free from material misstatements. An audit involves performing procedures to obtain audit evidence about the amounts and disclosures in the financial statements. The procedures selected depend on the auditor's judgment, including the assessment of risk of material misstatement of the financial statements, whether caused by fraud or error. In making those risk assessments, the auditor considers internal controls relevant to the entity's preparation and fair presentation of the financial statements in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal controls. An audit also includes evaluating the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates made by management, as well as evaluating the overall presentation of the financial statements. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our audit opinion. Our opinion. In our opinion, the financial statements give a true and fair view of the financial position of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana, as at 31st December 2018, and its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended in accordance with the requirements of International Financial Reporting Standards for SMEs and in the manner required by the Companies Act 1963, Act 179 of Ghana. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. Compliance with the requirements of Section 133 and 5th Schedule of the Companies Act 1963, Act 179 of Ghana. We believe we have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. In our opinion, proper books of accounts have been kept, and the statement of financial position, statement of comprehensive income, and income surplus account, and the cash flow statement are in agreement with the books of accounts. Signed, C.S. Habada, dated 30th September 2019. Thank you.
The financial statement, just like the minutes, were all circulated ahead of time. So at this stage, we want to ask if anybody has any questions, any clarification.
Yeah, I know the Companies Act has been amended. I don't know why you are using the old act.
Okay, this account is for 2018.
But it was signed in 2019.
Yes. Yes. For 2018. So you can't backdate the law. So for next year we'll use the new act, the revised. Thank you.
So my attempt is not that the AGM should be poorly organized, but seeing that the subscription is our number one source of, if a huge part of it goes into AGM, that means that other aspect of our...
Sorry, could you please mention the page so that other people can refer to it?
Okay.
Thank you.
If you look at the AGM expenditure on AGM, I think the notes, do I see page? Okay, page 14, sorry. Yeah. I think the middle portion, I see AGM expenses, 63,000. So I try to check how much we are getting from subscription. 1.4. So, yes, we need to have good AGMs, well organized. But if we can manage the cost in such a way that our margin will be enough so that we can push the funds into other areas. I'm sure that informs the reason why probably we have come to this place this year as compared to maybe the International Conference Center. They might charge more. So such comfortable but less expensive places are encouraged so that we can live within our means. I don't know whether it's in line with the standard, but probably if we have seen budget, I know we are comparing against prior year, but for our purposes, even if the law doesn't require, for our purposes, we want to see our budget was to spend this. Were we within budget or outside of budget? It's another area that informs members, but we only see that of prior year. So in the future, just for analysis, our executives living within the financial means they've agreed to. Why no sale of lapel in 2018? You know, the accountants, you know this whole thing about professionals, there's a bragging right. And when you see the accountants in the office and they are showing their lapel, you know, so I don't know that we are waiting for the bill so that we can have it per the status. But for me, lapel is key. You know, wearing even the cloth is part of the bragging rights in the office. And as a way of drawing more members into the association. So such things, we hold it dearly. So going to the future, lapel should be available. I lose it, I buy. Lapel pin, yes, so that we'll. But congratulations for the good margin on the certified HR. If I look at how much you spent and how much you collected, very good margin on the certified. But when I look at the graduation and the expenditure, it's also too close. Yes, I know those who will be graduating will be complaining. But that's the only way we can make money once from you to progress. So sometimes there should be some good margin between what we collect and what we spend. Because that is the way and the only way we can make money, especially indirectly, even towards the building project. But by and large, very good work by the executives in terms of most of the revenue lines have improved over the period. But I believe there's room, as we always say, for improvement. So congratulations, Executive Council.
Okay, so your first question, we will let the auditors respond to that.
Yeah, your question on whether we should include budget figures in the financial statement. Let me just say that we are guided by accounting standards in the performance of our work. And the standard does not permit that we include budget figures in the final financial statement. If it had been a management account, yes, you can do that. But for a financial statement like this, you don't include budget figures. That's how come you don't see budget information in the financial statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Raymond, you are a member. Just as any one of us. If you need further clarification and you want to see some of these things, you can walk to the center. Engage the secretary director. And he should be able to walk you through the information that we have. So, management information, yes, we have it. So you can come and ask questions and we will be obliged to respond to you.
In fact, you made a statement here that I see a bit confusing to me. In your opinion, basis of your opinion, let me say paragraph 1, paragraph 2, the last. Oh, no. In terms of the auditor's statement, their report. Oh, page 4. The specific area says that in making those risk assessments, the auditor considers internal controls relevant to the entity's operation and fair presentation of the financial statement in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the entity's internal control. So then what are you telling us? I don't understand, because what you are telling me is that if the internal controls that we have are not effective, that does not matter to you.
That's not what we mean.
So what does it mean?
What we are saying is that as part of the audit, we assess the entity's internal control, but we do not give an opinion on the effectiveness of the internal control in the audit report. However, if we observe there are some weaknesses in internal control, we do that by preparing a management letter, and then we spell out those weaknesses in the management letter that is submitted to management. So those ones are not included in the financial statement. It's not part of our audit report.
So what it means is that then myself as a member, I'll never get to know whether we have an effective internal controls, right?
If you want to know, then you can consult management after the AGM. And then they will just show it to you.
The audit report is supposed to tell me things that are not appropriate. So if I don't get to know, then what are we doing with the report?
That's what I'm saying that we are guided by accounting standards and auditing standards. And the standard does not permit that we include weaknesses in internal control, or it doesn't permit that we report on internal control weaknesses in the audit report.
I live to see the standard. Let's include this so that I'll see. Who is telling me we go with accounting standard? I don't take it. Let me see evidence that this is the standard.
Okay, I hear you. Excuse me, the last but one page. Operating income. I have PCP student fees, received and receivable. I believe the standard, the account is being prepared on cash basis and not on accrual basis. So if it is received, then it is realized. Receivables are not realized. So why are you lumping received and receivable? Which are the received and which are the receivables?
Please, this account is prepared on accrual basis, not cash basis. And so we have to recognize both received and receivable as income. So far as it is related to the accounting year in question.
Well, won't you delineate what are received and what are receivables? It will serve as a purpose for us to know those that have not been received.
Those that have not been received will be recognized as a receivable in the balance sheet, the statement of financial position.
Page.
So page 13. You will see PCP fees receivables. 160,730 Ghana cedis.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's turn to page 11. My question is on
your name, please.
I'm Mary Kopisa. My question is on the landed property. When you look at the net book value for 2017 and that of 2018, it increased significantly. That's 449 to 1,090. I want to ask the auditors whether the services of a professional valuer was employed in determining the value of the landed property.
The addition was as a result of an additional cost that was incurred on the landed property. It wasn't as a result of revaluing the property. And so you will see 64,314. That is an actual cost incurred on the landed property. It wasn't as a result of revaluing the landed property. Do you get me?
Okay.
It is a cost that was incurred, additional cost incurred. It wasn't a revaluation.
Okay. How often do you do the revaluation then?
How often do we
do the revaluation of the landed landed property? Because revaluation should be done once a while. So
yes, but the property itself, as at 2018, was not ready for use. It wasn't even ready for use for us to revalue. And now revaluation, it is up to management to decide on whether to adopt a revaluation model or a cost model. Normally, when you realize the asset is almost getting fully depreciated, that's where you can take of revaluing the asset. But this landed property is a property that was not even ready as at 2018. As at 2018, we were still incurring cost on it. And so it should be recognized at cost and not at revalued amount.
Okay, I beg to differ. Property should not be used before it is revalued.
You say you are ready for use.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Thank you.
I'll just add to that. We did that just about 2-3 months ago. We engaged a professional valuer and valued our property as it is now. And the value of it was, I think, tagged at 1.8 million Ghana cedis. That is exactly what we got. Okay, that includes everything. The land, the finished, building, the internal stuff. We got it done. Thank you.
Take a last one, if there is one. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next on the agenda. Okay, so the next on the agenda is any other business. Sorry, so thank you very much, Decap Associates. Thank you very much. You are discharged. Thank you. So the next on the agenda is any other business. Oh, sorry. Yes, sorry. May the member please move for the adoption of the final account.
My name is Timothy Sowa. In the absence of any further contributions or questions, I move that the financial statements as discussed be adopted for action. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. President, I want to second the motion of adoption of the financial statement. Thank you.
Your name?
Andy Osai Okra.
Thank you very much. I keep asking the name because somebody is taking the records so that the person doesn't have to lift the hand to look at who. Thank you. So we move on to any other business. And the first under that, before we move on, is vote on resolution. Resolution. So may I please, with your permission, read the resolution. Again, this was sent 4 weeks ago to everybody. So I have a copy here. Let me just read it, and then we will vote on it. Resolution to postpone election. Whereas the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management, Ghana Bill 2018, herein after called the bill, has been presented to the Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Whereas the draft bill has been reviewed by the Parliamentary Subcommittee on Education, and a report of the said review submitted by the Attorney General's Department to Parliament. The expectation is that by close of this year, December 2019, the bill would have been passed into law. Whereas the passage of this bill comes with fundamental changes in the setup of the Institute of Human Resource Management Practitioners, Ghana, hereinafter called the Institute, which changes include the composition of the council as it exists under the current constitution of the Institute, hereinafter called the Constitution. Whereas the bill also provides for the election of a president, vice president, and 4 members, 2 of whom are women, to the council under its clause 4. In view of the process and progress made towards the passage of the bill, Council hereby recommends to members to resolve as follows: to postpone the current elections and prepare for elections under the provisions contained in the bill. That members authorize the Council to review the status of the request before Parliament and inform members by 31st January 2020 to make a determination for elections thereafter. That the current elected president, vice president, and other officers continue in office until the next elections are called. So this is the resolution that was sent. So may we know by show of hands how many of us agree to the resolution? How many agree to the resolution? Okay. Or do we do a voice vote? Okay. So as many as are in favor, say aye. As many as are against the motion, say nay. The ayes have it. So motion adopted. Thank you very much. So any other business?
That is giving a certain timeline. Assuming that it doesn't happen on that day, what do we do?
Yes, so we said
so that for me, though 2020 is 12 months, we shouldn't tag ourselves to academic boundaries like January. If it doesn't happen, then what do? You convene or what? I just want to be educated on that. Thank you.
Okay, so the decision is that if by the end of January 31, the bill has not been passed, then we will have to make a decision as to when we hold elections. Council will have to inform members to start with. But I think the obligation here is that we will inform members that this is it, and therefore we will make the decision as to going forward what next. Thank you very much.
President John Mbro is the name. President, this young man performed a function here this morning, and looks as if my other hat hasn't been mentioned, and it is now coming to the fore. I'm also the chairman of the membership committee. Our committee also handles membership. So we have the membership and then the fellow status committee. Now, with the coming to force of the charter, membership of this institute is going to be a premium as far as management people are concerned. And I want to assure you that the committee has started putting into place some measures which will address the issue of the issue raised by a member up there, Raymond, about push the bragging rights, bragging member of the institute and all that, and professional. We'll be go professional, go charter. As soon as we get this, go professional, we'll go charter. So I want to assure you that the committee, my people, they are all here. We'll be working very hard, and everybody will be running to come and join us. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a hand there. Any other business?
I want to talk about the annual subscription. I think we have been paying 300 Ghana cedis for some time now. If we can increase it to 500 cedis, that will be fine.
Okay, so this is a motion. This is a motion on this. Okay. Okay, so please make your
My
point.
comment is that we as HR practitioners always work hard and say that yes, we are the people managing everybody in the organization. But sadly, our professional duties are the least, and which is not motivating. Even I had a friend accountant saying that you HR people, you are poor. Why would you be paying 300? And it is not refreshing to hear such information from your colleague managers in organizations. In any case, the inflation that hits them also hits us. So why wouldn't we, even if we will not pay a bypass, also bring it up? We can rub shoulders with them that yes, please, we are indeed.
Okay. So your point is that you are supporting the 500. Okay. All right. Thank you. Any other view? Okay. There's a mic.
Thank you very much. In principle, I have no problem with an increase. But I believe nothing should be arbitrary. I believe we should have underlying factors for a change. I've been thinking, every year 333. So I know one day it will come. I was thinking it will arrive with the charterism. Once we charter, but if it is to come, we should lay the foundation. What is our cost? Because whatever we pay is a factor of where we want to go. So if our cost demands that we pay 1,000, then we ask ourselves, is that the cost we want to carry? Then we carry it accordingly. So if there is a wind blowing from the membership, that there's a need for review, my proposal is that the executive should take the wind, research into it, and make sure that when the change is made, it will be resounding, and they will have an increase, because this year there was a target to make sure more people pay, and it happened. So we don't want an increase that will lead to less people paying. So there's a wind blowing. Mr. President, rise to the wind. And if your analysis shows that there's a need for change, you will come back to an AGM, lay the foundation that we want to get to a certain place and we need this amount. Members, this is for you. What do you see? And we'll respond to it without a doubt. So my brother, thank you very much for raising our minds to it. But we should not be arbitrary. Once we don't have the plus and minus of our figures, I rest my case.
Okay, thank you very much. There was a hand in front.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. My name is Peter Wosrochi. Just to add to I train him at a point, so I think it's important to review the dues upwards. But I want to suggest, just like Raymond said, that we discuss this at the forum when the charter comes out and when we meet to do the election, so that on that day we know we have two items to discuss: the election and then the dues.
Okay, so let's hear.
My good friend said that the wind of change. We agree, but the wind of change is now. We know that certain targets or certain dues is easy, but you should also be mindful about your ability to collect. I will think that looking at the project in front of us, we want to see the construction continue. I will second the 500 Ghana cedis for the year. Well, we will not need to wait until I think now, since we want to continue with the project, so that we can pay the 500. The 300 has been paid for about 3 or 4 years now. So I will second the 300.
The gentleman who made the contribution from the extreme end of the hall says that a wind is blowing. We're going to transit from our current status to the status of a chartered institute, and therefore we should hold on. I disagree with him. Even in the Bible, there is always a foretaste, the heavenly banquet. So the time is now. Let us revise it, and when we attain the charter status, where we'll be charging for licensing, then we can also revise it. But I think the time is now for us to revise. So the two motions on the floor be considered: 500 and 400. Or 1,000, 500 and 1,000. Shall we? Oh.
President, a quick one. My name is Steve Dello. I support the 500 cedis or above. I also want to, then, and your council should consider as maybe supporting the AGM in a bit. For instance, it costs to print the brochure that was distributed to us. And I was also saying in the morning that even the magazine, we should be made to make some contributions, maybe 10 CD, 5 CD, towards the printing cost. So whilst you think about this, also think about members who have registered to participate in annual meetings to make some contribution towards the organization of the entire program, because it's expensive to organize an event like this. Thank you.
I want to give a historical point. Some years ago, to organize the AGM, we asked members to subscribe, make some contribution, financial contribution. Because of that, they didn't attend annual general meetings. You see, so yes, historically. So that's what has led to the situation where you have to come in. Now, people's expectation, everything is money. So I don't believe that we need to pay to attend. But we can also, like the upgrading of the fees, we should think about it. I'm not against increasing it. After all, we all know that things have changed. 500 Ghana, if you rate it against the currencies at the interbank rate, it's almost like 1 to 1, 1 to 5. So 500 is not a big deal. The caveat is that those above 60, then you have to adapt.
Okay, so I saw a number of hands. You are all going to contribute towards. In order for us to pick it up, can you just go straight to the point and tell me whether you are for or you are against, so that we can round up quickly and we can hear all of you as well.
Hello, my name is Evelyn Abna Entry. I'm for the increment in the subscription to 500 Ghana cedis. I also have a question with regards to upon payments at Fidelity. Are we supposed to ensure submission of our payment slip at the institute? If so, can we look at other alternatives? Because traveling after payment, traveling all the way from wherever you are to the center, I think is also another best.
Scan and send. Case closed. Scan and send.
Noted. Thank you.
Okay. On that note, I think some of you have spoken. Time.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I want to make the work very simple. Judging from the contributions made so far, it is clear we want to go forward. It is clear we want to have the subscription increased. So I want, Mr. President, you to call for a motion for this, and then we settle it and move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, members of the Governing Council, ladies, cherished colleague members, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is my singular honor to give you the vote of thanks. I believe that you all agree with me that our thanks goes first to the Almighty God for making it possible for us to be here today and for helping us to go through this meeting successfully. It is by His grace that we are all here. And I also want to thank the Institute staff, the indefatigable staff of the Institute, under the able leadership of Mr. Agbeto. They worked so hard and they have put together this meeting that I think you will agree with me has been successfully organized. And also the members of the Governing Council. I believe they were also working with them behind the scenes to make it possible. Thank you very, very much. We do appreciate your efforts. And I also want to thank each and every one of us, all you cherished members. I know how it's not easy to find the time, but we thank you for your commitment to be here and for making time to celebrate, to attend this meeting and make it a success, because without your participation, it would have been something else. So we thank each and every one of you for being here. And we also want to thank our combo man. Thank you very much for giving us sweet melodies. And our co-MCs, Dora and Seth. Oh, thank you very, very much. They've made it very interesting for us. And our media people, photographers, and all of you, all those who have helped in one way or the other. There are some people who are the unseen, no, they work behind the scenes. You don't see them. So I want to thank all of us and all of you for coming. Thank you very much, and God richly bless you.